Hola amigos, and welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human, here at Vida Verde. And my guest this week is another fellow podcaster, Lasse Lasse Viva. He is from Denmark. He is the host of the Imperfect on Purpose podcast and also the author of the book by the same name. He is also a serial entrepreneur. He is a father and a husband, currently living here in the Machuca Valley. We're going to have a great conversation. Stick around. We hope you enjoy. Lasse Viva, bienvenidos. Welcome to La Vida Verde podcast.
Thank you, Human.
And Lasse is also the host of his very own podcast. How different is this podcast from your podcast experience?
I mean, the surroundings here are so beautiful. Like you relax the moment you get here.
You don't record in a natural studio with God's rocks behind you?
Well, I mean, we do. I mean, we
you have a nice place.
Yeah, we have like the studio we have in Denmark. Like now we're not in Denmark, so we haven't shot anything here. But the one we have in Denmark is actually in the forest. So it's
so it's surrounded by forest.
Yeah, it's completely surrounded by water and trees and life. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was being a little facetious, but I was wrong to do so. I imagine in Denmark it gets cold, so you have walls.
We do have walls.
Yeah, that's important.
I mean, otherwise you couldn't. You should only you could shoot a podcast maybe 6 months a year.
Right. Yeah. There's that. Your podcast is Imperfect on Purpose.
Yes.
And I just find, so you posted in the local chat group an episode that you did with Rainn Wilson, who is I know from my favorite movie, The Last Mimsy, which I'm not sure if anybody else seen out there. He's an actor. You probably know him from The Office. And I was intrigued. I was like, oh, Lasse. First of all, I didn't know you had a podcast. Second of all, I'm like, wow, he's pulling Rainn Wilson. Like, that's some pull. So in Denmark, it must be pretty popular.
It's a pretty popular podcast in Denmark, and we've been fortunate enough to have some incredible guests with a lot of who's like opinion makers in Denmark on like their creative, or we've had the foreign minister of Denmark in the studio. We've had the most popular TV host.
Cool.
Like we've had some pretty crazy people in that studio.
Well, I'm stuck with people in the Machuca Valley. So, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're some very intriguing people around, trust me. And so what inspired you to start the podcast? Because like my whole focus is Vida Verde and like also the Machuca Valley, getting to know people. What is the impetus? And we should say you started it in Danish and you're just now maybe transitioning to English.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a period right now where we're kind of dipping our toes, seeing where we'll go with this project. So Imperfect on Purpose is me. Like, this is my lifestyle. This is how I roll. And after, so I sold a company in 2018, and I had some years in an earn-out, it's called, in corporate language, where you...
Earn-out.
Yeah, you work for the project that you sold. And then...
because you got to make the money, you've got to finish it out.
You have to deliver the project to the new owners. And
so, what was the business?
So it's a hospitality company.
Okay.
We're based in Denmark, and right now it's listed on the Nasdaq. Yeah, it's an IPO in Helsinki.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Let's put a pin in that. Let's get back to the podcast.
All right,
I do want to talk about it, but I want to keep on the track of.
Sure.
So Imperfect on Purpose is you.
Yeah.
You are earning out of your business.
Yeah.
And
then, I mean, Imperfect on Purpose is something that I started living like 15 years ago. And it's basically an acknowledgement of the fact that, we're all just here improvising. And I'm brought up in a Christian house where the values are a different way, and I had a very good childhood, but there when they had me, I was they thought I got switched. Like I was a football kid, like, and I only played soccer my whole youth, and I ended up having like a professional contract and played nationals in Denmark and stuff like that. And throughout my childhood, there was a lot of being rewarded for what you did, not for who you were. And I carried that around for quite a while. And Imperfect on Purpose is a testament that you're just fine. And live from your heart and live consciously. And then when you live consciously through your heart, you are, in fact, a living testament that you are just fine the way you are.
I read your bio. You sent me your bio, and I read it, and there was this beautiful story about your father and how when he was kind of close to death, on his deathbed, he shared this wisdom with you. What will you share what he said? You said it really well.
Yeah, I mean, so when he got diagnosed with cancer when I was 18 and a half. And when I was 20, he was in his last stages. And funnily enough, I had a football match, like a soccer match.
Do you call it soccer or football, by the way?
We call it football.
Okay.
But
you can call it football.
All right, well, let's call it football then.
We don't need to appease Americans.
No.
The gringos in the world.
So this Saturday, I went to see him on my own because I had this football match later in the afternoon. And at this point, I mean, in hindsight, my dad knew that this was the last time we were going to see each other in this lifetime. And so he had a lot of clarity, and he was just very specific on the fact that, like, don't do what everyone else tells you to do. Like, really try and feel who you are and what you want to do. Be conscious about this. And then he had and this is the best life advice I've ever had. This is my dad. He gave me that this day. And he said, when everyone else tells you to go left, don't go right just because you can, but consider go right.
Yeah.
And I've done that my whole life. And this has created my career. It's created my family. It's created my, the whole thing that I'm actually living is because of that advice.
That advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's funny because I guess, well, that's just, first of all, amazing advice. Yeah, what you think the way you put it was like, you're on, so much of life is linear and it's moving in this way. Sometimes you just got to get off that path and
100%.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of us, I think, have been doing, I feel like I've been doing that a long time. Maybe it's because I'm just a rebel. I was born a rebel. It's really cool to meet people that are like, just, you meet people at different stages in their life. Some people don't figure that out until way late in their life, like your father maybe. 100%. Thank God you figured it out when you did, because now it's helped build this life of purpose and meaning, right? And I feel the same. I feel like, look, I definitely didn't choose the corporate road, but I'm happy. I have to remind myself, because all the challenges and struggles that, life still happens and it's still hard.
Yeah.
But in the end, is it more fulfilling? And
well, especially with this project, Imperfect on Purpose, I've had I'm so grateful for the people that listen and follow me on social media and whatnot. And the amount of people that have read the book and listen to the podcast and get back to me. And especially like since I'm a man, I assume this is why a lot of men write me. Women also write me, but
Interesting.
but there are men writing me from the ages of like maybe 30 to 55. And the things they write me, like these people that write me are often in a traditional way super successful. Like they've done exactly what is expected of them by society. They have 2 cars, they have the house, they have the wife, they go on ski trips and whatnot. And what they're writing me is that, well, why am I not happy? Like, why am I not joyful? Why can't I smell the flowers? Why am I stuck in life? And it's and I've even coached some of these people that it's really incredible to see a person who is like on paper super successful and is so lost in life.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't take it takes like you have to burn some of it to the ground actually and start from scratch. But the things that you can coach people like this to do is actually pretty simple. And when they do start to integrate this into their lives,
what is your like, there's got to be like we'll start with this. I mean, what's your first, like, what's the intro? Well, I know this is your work, and I'm not asking, I don't want to ask you to expose your method, but like maybe give us a little taste of like something that people watching can like, you know what, I've been feeling that way. What's a good first step?
Yeah. I mean, so like one thing that is so simple and so hard to do is breathing. You know, like most of these people, just try and like all of these people, because they are alive, are breathing, but they're not using the breath. So I had this guy he comes in and he's writing me because he has social anxiety. Like he has a huge job, he has a big career, but he has this meeting every week. Every week he has this there's this meeting that gives him anxiety. And the anxiety starts, like the meeting is Wednesday, the anxiety starts around Thursday morning. So he has 6 days of constant anxiety.
Wow.
So it's a horrible life. And so I tell him, like try a simple fix. Try and go into this meeting and don't be obvious about it. Don't be like just try and sit in that meeting with these shareholders and just go and breathe through your heart and then say what's on your mind. And like, I'm not going to say that I cured him, but it cured him. Like it took away the anxiety because he had a different level.
No, you guided him to cure himself, really, because he just wasn't focusing on his breath and was not. I mean, it's so simple. You're right. It's so funny how the most simple things, which we're given every day, we just sometimes just take for granted. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're building an amphitheater back here, so we got my team, my bros are back there working hard. Okay, well that's amazing. And so
then, I mean, after the breath, there's obviously a lot of things, but
they can contact you for coaching for that.
Always.
You do you do one-on-one coaching for people.
I do, yeah.
Because everybody's got their own different issues, it's like, but that one right there, start trying just breathing.
It's pretty simple and so hard, like so simple and so hard.
Well, it's hard to remember when your brain's like thinking about all these things. But it's ironic. It's not ironic. It's when you start to breathe, it actually slows down your brain too, so it kind of is like it starts to fix everything. It's like a spiral upwards.
Well, it's downwards. It's actually, it's pretty logical, you give the brain more oxygen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Imperfect on Purpose was in Danish, and now it's in in English? Are you switching to English entirely, or you're not sure?
So right now we're like, we had Rainn Wilson on, and we had this guy Steve Sarovich, and Steve Sarovich is a like he founded this company Paylocity, and he's just this big philanthropist. He's I think he's worth like, I don't know,
lot.
$3 billion
Oh,
or
great.
something, and
Okay.
he's donating like 85% to charity.
I would like to introduce him to my Think of Vita project. Anyway.
Yeah, no. So we've had two English-speaking people, and they are both incredible, and we've been so fortunate to get them in the studio. And so right now we're kind of looking at the response,
Right.
and so far the response has just been over the moon, and like, I'm so grateful for that. So,
I would guess that there's more English speakers in the world than Danish.
I mean, yeah, that's a
Considerably
good,
more, I think,
yeah.
at this point.
So there's a little
Your
under,
audience is a little bigger.
yeah. So there's a little under 6 million people in Denmark.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's like a big German city.
Got it.
Yeah,
A big German city.
yeah.
So you said you grew up. Where did you grow up, in a city or in the country?
So I grew up in the countryside of Denmark, and yeah,
Surrounded by trees, or
surrounded by trees, just playing football,
nice.
enjoying life, and then
And you wanted to go corporate, like that was kind of your original.
no. Like,
How did you end up going into hospitality, or tell us about the company, because you started talking
Yeah.
about the hospitality company.
So I grew up in a family of social workers and teachers, and my trajectory was
Social service. Yeah.
doing something for people that have less than you, and teaching kids how to live their life.
But you're the rainbow unicorn of the family.
So
Just like everyone else here.
yeah.
We're the rainbow unicorns that have finally found our tribe.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens is, after my father dies at the age of 20, at this point I'm on a contract for football, and I'm like
Professional football.
professional football, yeah. And I have an offer for a contract with a big club in Denmark. And I say no thank you to that. And for the first time in my life, I use my gut feeling.
That must have been hard to turn. It was good money probably and everything.
Good money, like all the things that you traditionally want was right there. Like the admiration, the money, the lifestyle. And I went traveling instead. So I traveled the world, and at this point I'm broken. I'm broken because I just lost my biggest role model, and I'm running for my life here. And I end up in Florence, Italy. And the only thing I knew is that I didn't want to go back. Like, I couldn't go back. My life after my father died was filled with anxiety, and I was running for my life, basically. And so I had 1 month rent paid with this guy called Mohammed, and I was flat broke. Didn't have any more money. And this was 2001. So I meet this girl, Rebecca, who has a restaurant called Baldovino, and I start washing plates.
Okay.
And I wash a lot of plates, and then one of the chefs, he quits, and they ask me if I want to be trained in like simple Italian cuisine, and like be in front of the restaurant. And this was my first real
What does that
job.
mean, being in front of the restaurant?
Like making crostoni, like serving pasta, like making salads, stuff like that in front of a restaurant while they're looking at you. And you're like, you have this contact.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was my first job in hospitality. And then like my biggest talent, I guess, is I'm good at visionaring. Like I have visions, and I saw this like in Italy, in Florence, especially. There's a lot of Americans that come there to study Renaissance and architecture and stuff like that. And at that point, no Italians spoke English, and I spoke Italian and English. So it was a perfect thing for me to start like an event company. And I started doing all these stuff like parties, wine tastings, parent visits. And then we got into ski trips. So I started organizing ski trips from Italy to Switzerland. And without, like, I didn't even realize, because I was having so much fun. Like, I was just living a great life and, kissing a few girls and, like...
Early 20s.
Yeah, just having that lifestyle, and then, like, the money really started pouring in. And,
amazing.
Yeah, and without even realizing, I had changed my trajectory to... Yeah, I went from, like, I'm going to be a teacher into, well, I'm good at making businesses. And this way I can also change people's lives by giving them experiences. And if you do a company where your values are good, I mean, you can actually change the world one step at a time, whatever you're doing.
Bro, this is like, you're speaking right, like you're speaking directly to my heart. I mean, this is what this place for me is all about, is like, how do I inspire people, change their lives? I was doing it as a musician for a lot of years, touring and like preaching, almost like on the pulpit. Like the stage was my pulpit.
Yeah.
But like needing a place to like ground my own energy also, but also to be like, to inspire people. And so, yeah, that's mission driven businesses. And so you did that. And also you have an events coming, so I would definitely want to keep this is exciting.
Yeah.
So you started the business and it just kind of, you kept going.
Yeah, so then I moved to Switzerland and was there for a while.
And kept the same business going. Is this the same business that...
Yeah, I was in Switzerland. We started going into bars, and I was running a place in Switzerland. And then, like, I had, for the first time in my life, like I had really made some money. And I was like, well, maybe this is the time to try and live in Copenhagen, Denmark's capital, for the first time and see if I can conquer that. So I came in...
Conquer Copenhagen.
Yeah. Like a Viking coming back to the country, yeah. So I arrived at 7:00 in the morning without... Like, I only had like one bag of maybe a shirt and a pair of pants, and that's it. And then
an axe.
And then a huge axe, and then...
Mjolnir.
Yeah. And I just, I went to work, and we started a company, and we had some bars, we had some nightclubs, we had started restaurants, and we started event places, and we
crazy
hosted all sorts of stuff, and then in 18
sold it.
We sold it.
So you did an IPO, or you sold it?
So
sold it right out.
So the same year that I sold that company, I actually IPO'd a cleaning company in Denmark, which was like, so I had two companies.
Wasn't your was your company?
It was my company, together with two guys.
Wow.
It was like Uber for cleaning.
Oh.
Called Happy Helper.
Smart.
Yeah, it's like you just take the client and the cleaner.
Put them together.
In an app. And then
there's reviews and...
you give them stars.
We need one of those around here. Start a Machuca Valley Happy Helper, please.
Well, COVID wasn't good for that company, so it went under. But I was out before.
Ironically, because everyone needed their houses cleaned.
Yeah.
Like, sanitized.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What was COVID like in Denmark? Did they do lockdowns and stuff?
They did lockdowns, yeah. And, I mean, it's it's a social democratic country, you know.
So Costa
So
Rica.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's no
They're gonna do what they need to do for the good of the people. That
exactly.
was Costa Rica too. It was very much like this attitude of, whereas the U.S. is like, I ain't doing that. Screw that, man.
Yeah,
You're trying to kill me.
Yeah, exactly.
No one trusts the pharmaceutical companies there, probably with good reason.
Well,
Anyways, well, that's a different
That's a different-
podcast. Okay, yeah, well, that's amazing. What brought you guys to Costa Rica? So where did you meet your wife? Your wife is Baha'i, by the way.
yeah.
You met her separate, like, where?
So Miriam and I, we met in a kite surfing course.
Kite surfing.
Yeah. And then she was with another guy. So I kept my cool, didn't do anything, and we started hanging out, no kissing, no anything, and
Just friends.
just friends. We were riding mopeds at the time in Copenhagen.
Sure.
Yeah, we were.
I'm sure her boyfriend loved that. Oh, the successful entrepreneur, ex-professional football player is now hanging out with my girlfriend. Sure, there's nothing going on.
Well, I mean, I was. I was.
You hadn't thought
being-
about that, huh?
I was actually being super respectful. and
I'm
she
sure
was-
you were.
yeah, but
I don't doubt it.
But I mean, I had ill intention. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I was in love with this girl, and
Yeah.
so one summer night we meet at 3:30 in the morning in this party street of Copenhagen.
3:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So she had been out, I had been out, and we meet, and she's no longer with this guy.
Ah, okay,
I'm
good.
single.
Ah, good.
So
I like this story.
we end up going to her place to pick up her passport.
Okay,
go-
we don't need details about what happened.
no, but
okay,
I'm just
Lasse,
saying,
like,
so I'm saying so. And then we went to my place to get my passport, and then we went to Italy, and we were there for 4 days.
no way.
And we've been there, like we've been together since.
You got your passports that night
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
left.
And we had breakfast at Piazza de Fiori at 9:00.
That is a cool story. That's a cool story.
And she, like Miriam, even said in her wedding speech that the thing that annoyed her the most is that when we got to Italy, I started speaking fluent Italian with the taxi driver, and she's like, "Oh, this guy is so like he's really trying to woo me." here." And the thing that annoyed her was that it was working.
There is that.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's she from? She's
So,
Danish?
Miriam is born in Copenhagen,
Oh, okay.
but she
I somehow for a reason thought she was like American or something.
no, her ancestry is from Iran.
Ah,
So her mom and dad came to Europe to study before the revolution,
ah.
and then the revolution in '79 happened, and then they couldn't go back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So they stayed in Copenhagen or in Denmark.
they were in Switzerland, and then they
Switzerland.
moved to Denmark. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
So-
Wow, her English is like her like she's almost impeccable. That's why I was like listening to her. I didn't even hear any accent, so I was like,
like she's raised Baha'i, and this is a very when your ancestry is Persian, like these guys, they live all over the planet, you
Right.
know, and so she's super international, and
Yeah.
she's been traveling since she's like 0 years old. So she is,
cool.
yeah, she's my spirit animal. She's incredible.
She's your spirit animal.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Miriam's my spirit animal.
Yeah,
You need to get a shirt. We need to get you a t-shirt. My wife is my spirit animal. And you have 2 kids. No, 1 child. 2?
Two,
2, yeah.
Bastian and Celine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And they're how old?
Bastian is 11 and Celine is 9.5. And they're just settling in here in Costa Rica, and like we've come here because we had a gut feeling that this was going to be something that we needed to do. And I mean, I think a lot of people come to Costa Rica in the search of Costa Rica just by being Costa Rica to change their life. We didn't have that illusion.
That's good.
Yeah, because
That's very good.
yeah.
Because those people don't last long here.
No, it's a hard country to live in, actually.
There's a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
It's expensive. It's not cheap. Everyone thinks
No.
it's cheap. It's
Yeah,
not cheap.
it's not cheap.
It's there's cultural differences. There's all kinds of reasons. There's a lot of bureaucracy if you want to actually live here, jumping through all the hoops and
Yeah.
So I get that. But you think you guys are gonna settle here, or?
So I think like right now we're dipping our toes, and we were so close at buying a lot last year when we were here visiting, and I'm so happy we didn't. Not because I don't trust the project or anything, but just the fact that we didn't have to come back, but we chose to come back.
Oh, so you almost bought a lot and then you left, and you came back on your own though?
Yeah, we left, and then we were back in Denmark, and we knew we were in trouble. Yeah. So
I know. I was just talking to someone recently. Well, my girlfriend, she wanted to go back to England, and I'm like, "Are you sure you want to?" She's like, "Yeah, I just have this feeling." I'm like, "It's cold there. You remember how cold it gets in December in England and wet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be what you think. After spending like 4 months here, I think you're gonna have a different experience going back." Was it something like that kind of thing, or
for us,
more culture?
The climate is not as big of a thing. I mean, obviously, like Denmark have months where it's kind of wet and cold. But I like the seasons. I actually appreciate it. But I think we're mainly here for the kids. Like we want to give them, like they've been traveling a lot the last 3 years. Like we've been in Australia, we've been in Asia, New Zealand, Fiji, US, Europe, Costa Rica. Like they've really seen, they've gotten perspective.
That's
and I
amazing.
think that's super important for kids, that they get like the perspective that their little bubble in, let's just say this example, Denmark, this is not the world we live in. Like this is one version of the world. And then we, like last time we were here, they went to the real world school, and we met Simone. And Simone is he's really an amazing human being. And I believe his vision for the school. I really do. And if he's able to follow that with a mixture between idealism and pragmatism, I will stand behind him in this project that he's doing.
Cool.
And yeah, our kids are enjoying it, and like everything takes time, but yeah, we're enjoying it.
We were gonna have Simone on a couple weeks ago, but he fell ill on the day we were gonna film. So we'll get him on one of these days. Well, I'm really excited to walk around and show you Finca Vida Verde and get your perspective, because obviously you have a lot of experience. So and also we play volleyball, you and me and Simone, and I'm excited to play more volleyball with you.
Oh, 100%, dude.
Lasse, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really, man.
Thanks, bro.
It's really. We're gonna close it out, and then we'll go take a walk around.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is La Vida Verde podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Human. We were releasing episodes every Tuesday, but we're cutting back a little bit right now. We've been very busy here getting ready for our 4th annual Monkey Medicine New Year's experience. We're developing a whole new space event center here. So thank you for your patience if we have a lapse in episodes, but keep checking the YouTube at La Vida Verde podcast. We are also on Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR, on Facebook Finca Vida Verde, and please keep checking out our Patreon. We're going to keep uploading behind the scenes extras and different things, and really just help support, keep this going. We're also looking for new sponsors. If you want to have your brand, your product, something you want to put on and it's aligned with our podcast, please reach out to me so we can keep doing these, keep it funded. And thank you to Ecoteas Yerba Mate. Until the end of the year, you can go to yerbamate.com and use the code Vida Verde. That's VIDAVERDE to receive 20% off of anything, your first purchase on yerbamate.com. I think that's about it for right now. We'll see you guys again the next time. Pura vida.